Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. It's nice to have you here. I appreciate you being here. And today we're going to be reviewing HellBlade. I'm going to be talking about it. I have some notes that I took. So I'm going to be, if you see me looking over here, that's what I'm looking at. I don't really have a script, just some negatives and some positives. So I'm going to start with the negatives just because I want to get those out of the way. One of the first things I noticed, unfortunately, like immediately, was that this game needed to be polished. Just a little bit more. It's not like really bad. The game ran fine. But it's just that like a few times textures would pop out. So yeah, sometimes I'd walk up to something and a texture would pop out and it would look really weird, or textures also popped in a lot of the time. Something else I noticed was that subtitles would display something different than what was being said in the game, which, you know, a lot of people might not care about. But personally, for me, reading subtitles when playing games, watching movies, it helps me really get invested for some reason. Like, I mean, I can get what's going on and all that, or understand the story just by hearing and listening, just fine, but it does help for me to read. So I had the subtitles on, and a lot of the time, almost like every cutscene, the subtitles were displaying something differently than what was actually being said. Either that, or I have a terrible attention span, and it was actually just me being stupid, which is very likely. Another thing that was really annoying were the puzzles. Not the puzzles themselves. The puzzles weren't too difficult. They weren't like impossible or anything like that. Nothing like close compared to you know, something like Portal or something like that. But yeah, no, the puzzles were insanely hard. What was annoying about them was a lot of the time, if I was like, so they're kind of like visual puzzles. You know, to get past a door, you need to line up certain patterns with, or you need to line up a pattern in the environment. What would happen is I'd be staring at the correct object, the correct thing to make this pattern, and just because I was like a centimeter to the left or 2 centimeters to the right, or just, you know, just right by it, the puzzle didn't want to complete itself. It didn't want to finish, so I couldn't progress. And, you know, and then I'd think maybe that's not the right spot and spend like another 20 minutes looking for the right spot. And then I'd come back to that spot and stand, you know, 1 more centimeter to the right or something, and then it would work. And that was frustrating. It made the puzzles not very enjoyable. You know, it was like, I don't know, it just felt like the game was, I know it wasn't their intention to have that. I don't think any game designer would do that, but you know, it added quite a bit of time to my playthrough, I have to say. I beat it in like almost 6 hours, and I definitely would have been hitting only the 5-hour mark without those little annoyances. Other than that, there isn't a lot of negatives. I have one more thing that could be a negative. It's not really a negative to me. It could just be like an addition to the game that would have been a positive if it was there, but it's not there. So I guess it's not really a negative, but I really do believe that the game would have benefited, like after you beat the game, if you got a mode where you did like just the combat sections for the people who like the combat. I know it's a story-driven game, but the combat was good, enjoyable, and I really think that, you know, the game would have benefited, like I said, from a mode with just the combat sections or combat challenges, or like a wave-based mode, or, you know, with like the bosses at the end, because there are bosses in the game. Not very many, but they are there. Alright, so sorry, my cat's dropping stuff. Alright, so let's move on to the positives, because those are all the negatives I have. Not a lot, which is really good considering how small the company is. They worked their asses off on this game. Ninja Theory is an awesome company, and they have my approval. You know, they have my money after this, and honestly, I've loved all their games for the most part, so I've always been a fan of Ninja Theory. I am sorry if you hear that. My cat is playing right now with something. So, they always find the worst times possible to do really annoying shit, so I figured, you know, they'd be making noise. But anyways, on to the positives. Immediately, first thing I noticed that I'm really happy about is the graphics. if no one knows, Ninja Theory consisted maybe of 20 people, probably less, at least that worked on this game. With that being said, I mean, technically this is an indie game, but they strive for AAA graphics, AAA quality. Graphics. They are awesome. Aesthetically pleasing, graphically pleasing, texture work was awesome, and on top of that, I played on PS4 Pro. Obviously, if you're on PC or with the PS4 Pro, you can play at 60 FPS. You can, on PS4 Pro, you have the option between a higher resolution or 60 FPS. Obviously, being a combat game, I went with 60 FPS, and I felt that the game still looked phenomenal. I noticed a jitter here and there, not really a big complaint, it was just usually when the game is saving, which is pretty typical nowadays. Awesome graphics, ran great, aesthetically pleasing, the design was awesome. I never felt like much of the areas looked too much of the same, no samey feeling throughout the game, which was fucking awesome. The acting and the voice acting, both of those, phenomenal. You know, they have dev diaries on the Ninja Theory YouTube channel, which you should watch. It explains like their development process with the game, and you know, you learn that the actor for Senua, the main character, she's never acted before in her life. She's the editor for Ninja Theory's videos and trailers and maybe cinematics. I'm not entirely sure, but she does the trailers and edits the dev diaries that I'm talking about. But she also did the acting for Senua, which she's never acted before, and for never acting before, she did awesome. So, I mean, and again, the voice acting, phenomenal. Which leads me to the sound design. Wow.
The gate is opening. It's coming. That song again. Is it? It's Hella.
Yes. The source of the darkness. It's coming. This is your moment.
I'm sorry. I can't watch this.
What are you doing? You're showing weakness. You're not a warrior. You're a disgrace. The gods will punish you for this. Pick up the sword. Pick it up. Fight the darkness. Fight it.
She's scared.
Get up. Get up. Get up and fight.
Sound design's pretty damn good. Probably one of the best parts of the game. To be honest, as far as like if we're talking about technicalities, you know, not gameplay, and just like how the game is built, and the sound design is definitely the best part. From the voices you hear in your head, because Senua is suffering from psychosis. Maybe I should have described the game a little bit more at the beginning. I need to start doing that. But anyways, yeah, so you're Senua, dealing with psychosis, you hear voices. You have to play this game with headphones, because constantly there's voices going on in the background. They help you solve puzzles. Sometimes they confuse you. They make you feel like you're going the wrong way. They help you in combat. They warn you when enemies are about to sneak up on you and, you know, stab you through the back or knock your ass down or whatever. But voice acting, phenomenal. From every character, not a weak character. And each voice, they're reoccurring voices. There are characters, I believe, throughout Senua's life. I'd assume that's kind of the vibe I got, or idea I got. So awesome. I'm gonna keep saying it. I know I keep saying it, but it was awesome. And then we have the story. Story was really good. I think that maybe some people who don't watch like a lot of movies where that necessarily require you to think a little bit, or, you know, there isn't a lot of games like that. This is probably one of the first games where maybe I had to think about the story just a tad bit, but the story is awesome. Not really confusing if you're really paying attention the whole time. I think you get a lot from the voices and little video bits that are in there, and Yeah, it's really good. I'm not going to dive into why it's too good because I really think you should just experience it for yourself. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say is it's good, and you're just going to have to take my word for it. So let's talk about the gameplay a little bit. Combat and puzzles. Let's start with combat. Combat is fun, simplistic. Light attack, heavy attack, block, but you can also parry with the block button. Then there's like a dash, not a dash, but you can like sprint in and do an attack. And at first, the combat was like, I wasn't really feeling it just because of how simple it was. But then once you really get into it, like, yes, it's simple, but I think that's the point. It's so simple that like you feel like you can fight back. And that's actually what's amazing is you feel like you're fighting back, like you're in constant defense, like you are fighting for your life. Every fight is a fight for your life. It's not a game like God of War where you're overpowered and you're ripping people to shreds and shit. You are fighting for your life. You are trying to survive. And I have never played a combat game where I got that feeling, where every time I was in combat, I was in 100% defense. Even though I was attacking and being very offensive, I was defending my life. I was fighting for my life. And that is an achievement in its own. And I think it has to do with the aesthetic, the music, the vibe of the game, and the combat itself. That is an achievement. And I was stressed out while playing. I hated it, but I absolutely loved it too. And I wouldn't have had it any other way for this specific title. So I have to commend them for that. Good fucking job. Not that, Ninja Theory would ever see this, but good job. Right, puzzles. Gotta talk about puzzles. So they're the, like, visual puzzles. It has to do with, like, her psychosis. You'll go to a door and it'll be like, yo, you can't... Well, it doesn't say that, but, like, basically you can't go through the door. And there will be, like, these patterns on the door, and you have to line up the pattern. There's, like, usually 3 on the door. You have to line up the pattern with, like, environment stuff. Once you do that, you unlock one symbol and you have to do the rest of the symbols, and then the door unlocks. There are different kind of puzzles. There's like these illusion gate things that when you look through it, it will clear up a space or change a space, or you have to look at an environmental piece from a different perspective to form it together. It's I wish I could sit here and talk about like how the psychosis, why you do these kind of puzzles with their psychosis. I wish I could explain the science behind it, but I've never really studied psychosis, and I don't have psychosis, so I'm sorry, but I can't tell you. But you know what? Who can? Ninja Theory can, and I have listened to them talk about it, but I am terrible at translating what people say. I'm not going to give you my own perspective of what they said, because it will be 110% different than what they originally said. So I will say that, again, back to the whole, like, feel like you're in defense the entire time. The game is also terrifying. There's these points and times in the games where, like, you lose your sight and you can't really see. And, I mean, you can see a little bit in front of you, but you really need, again, listen to audio to get through these sections. And then there's, like, these enemies that you can run into. You know what? I should mention, there is permadeath. There's, like, this blackness that goes up her arm as you die, and once it reaches her head, you're dead. You have to restart permadeath. And, I never really got that close. I only died, like, maybe 3 or 4 times. And I didn't change the difficulty either. I just played with the automatic difficulty that the game came with. Hopefully it wasn't easy. So really, with all that being said, I don't know if I can really, I don't like to give out scores, but I can definitely recommend this game. It's only $30. The combat's fun. The boss fights were fun. The puzzles were fun, except the little annoying thing where you have to be exactly in the exact same, you have to be in the exact spot the game wants you to be so that you can progress. But, they might be able to patch that out. Really, honestly, it's just a good game. I do think that even if you don't like the kind of game it is, you should support it anyways, because the business model is... The game is very unique itself. The game is awesome, it's fun, story's awesome, voice acting is unique, but what really makes this game different is how the game was made. You should really go watch those dev diaries, but it's an independent game, funded by Ninja Theory themselves, worked on by 20 people or less, and total creative control. They made a game that they wanted to make without a publisher wanting change. I'm not saying, like, publishers are a bad thing, but this is something that you should support, because I want other game developers, and you should want other game developers to follow this model, because this will mean we'll always get unique individual titles that were made with passion and not money in mind. I mean, of course, it's a business. They have to make their money at the end of the day. But Ninja Theory showed that passion and creativity, can strive. And they made an awesome game. It may not be for everyone because there's a lot of story, a lot of walking, a lot of slow moments. But if you love a good story and if you love fun combat, I mean, for $30, between 6 to 8 hours, buy it. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm not going to give it a rating. I don't do ratings, but I could tell you that I recommend this game. For $30, buy it. That's, support them. Ninja Theory has really done something different here. I mean, I feel like I might be a little biased because I've been following it since their first developer diary. I've watched every single one. To be honest, like, if I hadn't watched those, I would still love the game, but I don't think I would be as strongly... I wouldn't feel as strongly about it. But because I did watch those, which isn't, necessarily a bad thing, I feel strong about the game. I feel strong about supporting it, and I think everyone else should support it as well. Really, I might have skimmed over something, which I really hope I didn't. Maybe when I'm editing the video, I'll see that I skimmed over some stuff or just was repeating myself, which I wouldn't be surprised. I'm no professional at this. But I hope that you found this video informative, that you enjoyed watching it, that for some odd reason you enjoyed listening to my voice, whatever. I just hope that you enjoyed this video, and that, even if it's just one person, which, I might only get one view and it might be me, but if it's just one person who watches this video and decides that they're even just slightly interested in this game, then I feel like I met my goal, and that this video was worth it. And to that one person, or anyone watching, I want to thank you for being here, and I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you return. No pressure though. I'm not going to ask you to do anything. That, if you want to like the video, if you want to subscribe, that's up to you. Anyways, regardless, I hope you guys have a good day. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you around.